I'd like to call up Mr. Joram Winamo, who is fondly known as a chief entrepreneur of East Africa, and who, I think I've already mentioned it, was one of my early entrepreneurial heroes from the podcast he used to do way back when. And he has played a critical role as an ecosystem builder. And Sandbox is really a testament to that, and he'll tell you more about Sandbox. And basically, his work is to create a thriving environment for entrepreneurs in Kenya. So we're very delighted to have him open our proceedings and welcome you all. So thank you, Joram.
Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing today? I hope we are all full of energy and ready for what we are going to be doing today. My name is Joram Winamo. It is such an honor to host all of you here today. You're quite welcome to the Sandbox. This is the Sandbox, 7th floor and ground floor. I think you've both been to both spaces. And this is where we carry out our mission of just helping entrepreneurs to thrive. We are passionate about building a world where entrepreneurs thrive and build enduring businesses, okay? That is actually our new vision statement, verbatim. Because we introspected and asked ourselves, what are we really passionate about? And we're passionate about helping entrepreneurs build businesses, but you can build a business and it imprisons you because you're not able to walk away from it because you're spending so many hours working hard and it's just not working. Or you're not able to scale. Or you're making money but you look at your balance at the end of the month and you've paid everyone except yourself, All these are realities for us as entrepreneurs. But we are here at Sandbox hoping to change that and just hoping to work with entrepreneurs to make sure that we help you build a profitable, impactful business, but also be free as an entrepreneur to be able to enjoy what it is that you've built and enjoy the impact that you're having. So here at Sandbox, we bring together different professional services, non-competing professional services, under one roof to work with entrepreneurs to build their businesses. What do I mean by professional services? Things like legal, accounting, HR, governance, IT, and the like. We have all those experts here to help entrepreneurs. This year has been a very big year for us. We've really grown. We opened our Atlanta branch, and thank you to our US partners who are very instrumental in helping us make that a reality. So that is up and running. We set up a really large project supporting creative sector entrepreneurs here in Kenya. And throughout the year, we've also been running the Climate Hub, a local program where we've had fellows who've applied and we've been taking them through some acceleration on that. And so it's been very exciting that we've had a lot of entrepreneurs come through our doors. But it doesn't stop here. Every process of learning is just the beginning of the great future that you hope, to get to. And so as we grow, we also hope that the entrepreneurs who come through our doors, whether together with our partners, would be those kind of entrepreneurs that can look forward to a future where they are running big businesses that are well run, that are creating a lot of value for their clients, that are also creating a lot of value for the people running the enterprises, whether it's the staff, the shareholders, or the entrepreneurs themselves, and having a lot of impact in society, making a difference where people can say, before this company came, this place was not the same, but after they came, we cannot afford to lose them because they've transformed the space. And I strongly believe that those entrepreneurs who are going to do that are the people seated right in front of us. So I'm really looking forward to the success stories that will come out as you proceed your journeys of building your businesses. So you're very welcome to the Sandbox and enjoy the rest of the evening.
And thank you, Sandbox, for hosting us. It's a privilege to be in the partnership together. And just to give a quick introduction to Halcyon, for those of you who may not already know who we are a social impact accelerator based out of Washington, D.C., and we exist to accelerate the impact-driven future of business. And together with Sandbox and Kenyatta University, we form what is known as the Nairobi Climate Hub, which is an initiative of the U.S. State Department. And it's through that initiative that we're able to bring to you the fellows that you're about to meet today. But before I introduce those fellows to you, I'd like to first introduce to you our first conversation with the one and only, the famous and infamous James Mwangi. Not the one you think, but this one is just as important, and this one is just like doing so much more impactful work for entrepreneurship on the continent. And James Mwangi is a CEO and founder of the Africa Climate Ventures, and they work to build and accelerate the transformative and they work to build and accelerate transformative, climate-smart, and carbon-negative businesses across the continent. He will be joined in a brief conversation with the Halcyon president and CEO, the one and only extra plenipotentiary Dan Parker. So I'm going to invite them up to just start our first conversation.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to be here with the real James Mwangi.
You're going to get me in so much trouble in this town.
This is honestly the real coup of the week for us to be able to get James here, such an amazing innovator in this space. As a former consultant or recovering consultant, I know a little bit about his journey, and actually that's where I wanted to start. James founded Dalberg, an amazing organization, grew it over 20 years, was at the top of his game, really in every conversation involving social impact across the globe. And you decided to give that all up to start something new, just like some of these founders. Why start Africa Climate Ventures when you did, and sort of was the thrust for that?
Thank you, Daniel, and thanks, Mercy, for that fulsome and somewhat exaggerated introduction. And thank you all for being here. It's a privilege to be speaking to you all. So with the journey, and the first thing I'll begin with is I co-founded Dalberg with others, and I was part of a founding group. And that's an important thing for me because I genuinely believe that many of the more successful journeys do not begin with one kind of captain, they begin with a strong team. And I was privileged to be a junior member of a founding team for that journey, and then increasingly playing more and more of a leading role in that. I got into that work, the work of Dalberg, to think about how you create a more inclusive and sustainable world. I was very focused on how you grow African economies and how you create jobs in Africa. I actually never did climate work until a few years ago. And the reason I switched was I was looking at the data and I was saying, unless we find a competitiveness engine for Africa that makes it globally competitive, we're not going to be able to absorb and deploy and harness the power of our young generation, our growing workforce. We can't just improve on the margins. We need a sector or set of sectors where Africa is poised to dominate. And so I asked a team, because I had teams back then, hey, let's spend a month or two really digging into what are sectors or spaces where Africa could really dominate. And it's that process that led us to this idea we now call climate positive growth, this idea that Africa, because of the way we are positioned, could actually be a big player in the positive transition towards a climate sustainable planet and could actually win industrial share, could dominate new sectors because of the advantages we have. And so once I saw that idea, I began to test it, took a year off to really be sure that I wasn't smoking my socks. And once it was clear it was real, the question was, what's my role in that? And one part of it is advocacy and preaching this story. But the other part was, okay, I like building businesses, I like starting things, and so if I'm serious about this, if I really believe this is the thing that's going to transform our economies, go out there and find the way to contribute. And that led to ACV as the way we thought we could contribute.
And I'd love to hear a little bit more about ACV and sort of what you see that contribution to this ecosystem being.
So our view is, so let's start with the logic of the model is the following. If you believe that there are entire sectors, and I am not going to give the full lecture on climate positive growth, I've said that enough times, people will roll their eyes because they've heard me say it so many times. If you buy that there are these sectors and spaces where Africa is not just a place to do catch up with the rest of the world, but can be a global leader, the next thing you realize is very few companies are already being started with that in mind. We generally don't start with how am I building something to be globally competitive as a thesis. And so if you're saying that that's what you want to invest in, you can't just go raise a fund and wait for ventures to come by that you can invest in. You're literally going to have to go out there and look for entrepreneurs who are already either on the journey but haven't kind of realized that there's this tailwind, or could be on the journey but haven't seen the opportunity. Or in some cases, you're going to have to take an idea and some capital and just build a team to go after it. And so that's what we set out to do with ACV. We are very deliberately not just an investor, we are a venture builder or co-builder. We have conviction about a set of sectors and opportunity spaces where we think Africa can build dominant, globally competitive companies. And we look for companies or leaders or spaces where we think we can build something that succeeds or help build, accelerate something that succeeds. And then we climb in, not as an investor in the typical sense, but as almost a co-founder. We're in there to do the work, not just show up for board meetings, but actually work on strategy, work on core aspects of the business, actually go out there and build a market or develop a technology alongside the team. And to do that effectively, we have to hold ourselves to saying, how are we able to look an entrepreneur in the eye and say, we understand African operating conditions? And as I say African, I mean, it's not one Africa. There's many, it's not just the many countries. There's not a Kenya condition. There is, there's the Kenya of Lake Turkana and there's the Kenya of Kilimani. We understand those conditions on the one hand, and importantly, we understand the cutting edge of what's happening in the various areas of climate innovation and can help people navigate and connect those two worlds, and we are credible in those two worlds. We can sit with leading global climate innovators and investors and say, we found something, and they will say, okay, we can take you guys seriously because we know you understand what's happening at the frontier, and do the same on the other side. So that's what we try to do. It's a very hands-on approach. It's a partnership that we're trying to form. And our hope is to contribute to, we may not be the ones that find those climate unicorns, but we want to try and at least start the process of seeding the ground for those climate unicorns to come into existence across the continent.
I love that, and I love that partnership that you have in addition to the investment in founders. I want to tell you a little bit about that other side of the equation that you mentioned and having that credibility with the investor set. And we heard the Big Deal Africa said that this year climate caught up with fintech in terms of the percentage of investing that's happening on the continent. But we still know there's relatively a small amount of dollars flowing into venture capital into Africa. So how do you make that translation happen, and how do you increase folks' willingness to look at the market opportunities here? And also, how does VC have to change in order to make itself effective on the continent?
I'll start with the last part. I think that VC in Africa, I'll say VC in any emerging market just has to be a lot more hands-on. There's a particular model of the Silicon Valley venture capitalist taking 10 meetings a day and in shoes and no socks, writing checks on the basis of 2 good meetings, and you bet on 20 and hope to succeed, and if they succeed, you're great. That model doesn't work here. You need to be, as you all know, we've all built businesses or tried to build businesses or had the dream of building a business in these environments. It is hard. And if you're not willing to engage with that difficulty, not just by writing a check, but by doing the hard things that come after the check is written, you're not going to get to where you need to go. So that's a critical difference. In terms of credibility, I'll be the first to say it's a work in progress. What we are trying to do, a lot of times what I observed when I was an advisor to people deploying capital into Africa, people trying to raise capital in Africa, was the conversation was very much about Africa and Africa's needs, right? Here's what we need, and was very much, I need to get you to align to the thing I care about, which is the continent. What we've tried to do is engage a different group of folks who are just purely focused on the climate opportunity, and basically sell them on just the basic fundamentals of Africa as an opportunity for them. I'm here to solve a problem for you. I don't need you to care about Africa's young people. That's our problem. I need you to care about where is the place where you can get the best, either carbon return for dollars spent, or the best thermodynamic conditions for the technology you're running, or the best qualified or best positioned labor force to do a certain thing. And that requires you to really dig into what are the big determinants of how each of these technologies will work. I remember, and I'll make this very concrete. Some of you will have seen, and I talk a lot about Kenya and Ethiopia's particular potential as centers for direct air carbon capture. It's a technology for, one of the more kind of out there technologies for managing climate change. There's many reasons why it's not going to work the way it's being done. The biggest one is it takes a lot of energy, and that energy has to be renewable, and it needs a place to put the carbon. Just about the only place in the world that doesn't reflect major trade-offs in order to deliver that is the East African Rift Valley. And so when I meet with folks, I'm like, I'm not here to tell you about Ethiopia's amazing potential as a growing economy. I'm just saying, look at these facts about your technology, the reasons why it's going to struggle to work in Texas and in Louisiana, the reasons why it barely works in Iceland, and then compare that to the operating conditions in Ethiopia, in Kenya. Read that material and call me when you want to have a conversation. And that's a very different kind of chat. It's us saying, we think we're the key to your success, rather than help us out and let us into the conversation.
And moving to a different part of the capital stack, you wear a few different hats in addition to this role, sitting on a foundation board, sitting on the board of a nonprofit. One of the things that we often hear from our founders is sometimes they're thinking about getting grant capital, right? And then all of the folks here are for profit, but there seems to be a dual-edged sword with that. And folks can talk about grantpreneurs, right? And it can also come with a stigma attached to it. How should founders in this room think about building out that capital stack for them? How should they think about, going after grant capital while trying to build that runway, and the pros and cons of doing that?
I think you need to understand where your business, what kind of business you're trying to build, and what will make that business viable. That's the direction you're going in. On that journey, of course, you will raise commercial capital as part of what you're doing, or you will bootstrap the business in some way. If on that same journey, you happen to find non-dilutive capital, a grant or something that is aligned with what you were trying to do, then consider it. And I said consider it. A lot of people suddenly are like, oh, so-and-so wants to give me a grant. What can I do to get them to give me the grant? How do I change myself to get that grant? And what I've discovered is actually there's two mistakes embedded in that. The first one is, and it's really endemic on the continent, is we take the grant makers or the concessional funders' initial suggestion of where they want to spend their money as a given, and we treat it as the marking scheme. Now, how do we change our business to align to what you are looking for? Versus, how do I tell you the story of my business to show you how you can achieve your goals by backing me, right? So that's one piece of this, is actually we need to test those criteria a little bit. And the second thing is, we are sometimes willing to say, you know what, at least I'll have some resources, let me turn in this direction. And the problem is, you pick up one grant, then you pick up another one that's further out, and before long you're a business that collects grants rather than doing the thing you intended to do. So there's a cautionary tale there of needing clarity. At the same time, we live in the real world. Salaries have to be paid, mortgages need to be serviced, school fees is not, paying itself. So there's always that tension. But you need to keep in mind that you have the fact that you're in that conversation means you have something of value, and you need to defend it jealously and rigorously. And say, here's the thing I'm planning to do. If you take me too far outside of what I'm trying to do, I'm going to keep on doing what I'm doing with the little I have. And that confidence, that willingness to say, I'm going to do what I'm doing because I believe in it, actually ends up attracting those types of resources more than tell me what you want me to do. If you say jump, how high? There's an element of that that's bad for the sector, bad for the entrepreneur, and frankly also bad for the grant giver.
And I think something that you said there, coming with the value and confidently coming with that value that you're delivering, and it's something that I think is true when you're talking to a grant maker as well as an investor. Right? You're there delivering value. One of the things that I found interesting just in the last week, I think it was Flourish Ventures came out with this report, looking at wellness for African ventures. Not something we're typically used to talking about wellness and founders really in any context, particularly in the African context, and said that over close to 90% of African founders said that their mental wellness or their physical wellness was impacted by being a founder. What is your advice to the folks in this room? How do they reinvest in themselves to keep going? Because it's a long journey, right? It's a long journey as an entrepreneur and often a lonely journey. How do they keep that going, and how do they identify the folks who are going to walk with them along that journey to continue to reinvest in them so they can do the work?
In your question was embedded the answer, is don't try and walk the journey alone. And that means, I think that one unfortunate side effect of the cult of the founder that came out again of a very different context out there is we think of being an entrepreneur as being the face, and you've got your supporting cast, but you're the star, and everything is and we don't necessarily focus as much on building a committed team that's jointly driving something. And if there's one thing that's kept me from complete breakdown over the years, has been in everything that I've ever embarked on, I've always had friends and colleagues that were in the journey together that I thought of as peers. Whatever the titles on the table, I was always like, there are things I know I don't do well, and there are times when my instincts will lead to a mistake, and I cannot do this unless there's someone who complements me with their own strengths and can help me avoid those mistakes. That's the practical aspect. But the other aspect from a mental health perspective is someone you can really, in part knowing that I need to care for their mental health helps me care for myself, right? Knowing that actually we are all in this together creates that sense of let's look out for each other, and people will say, hey, you need a break, we've got this, or here is how we can help each other, here's how we can move forward. So there's lots of other things that people will say. For me, the thing has always been, find a team that will have your back no matter what, and work to build that. And if it's not coming together for you, ask the question, is there something about the way you're engaging with the people around you that's not attracting the kinds of people? You need to give trust to get trust. You need to be reliable to get reliability. How is it that you are the ideal teammate to another group of people on a journey? And that often means being willing to share credit, being willing to share visibility, sometimes put yourself behind the scenes and let someone else be in front, sometimes taking the hardest job, even though, the thing I said to another group is, if you think within the team you're the founder and you think you're too big to do the little things, then chances are you're too little to do the big things.
All right. Certainly that has resonated in the room, and I think that focus that you had on leadership and team is so critical and often an aspect of venture building that we ignore. So I really love those words. I could keep you up here all day. I think I've traced you across 4 cities on 3 continents this whole year. But in the interest of time and making sure that we have time for the founders, one last question. In the next 5 years, what's on the horizon for climate investing in Africa? And what should these folks be looking at to take advantage of from that singular or multiple trends?
So I think that some of the fundamentals that change Africa's role in the global economy in a greening planet are becoming clearer to more people. I think that you're starting to see the first expressions of a recognition that we're going to move into a world of more renewable energy at the core of industry, and energy being a big driver of cost and competitiveness. And that means that if renewable energy is what you need, the place with the most renewable energy potential is where you need to be. That's one example. The big trends that we saw as that surprised us when we looked at the data are becoming more and more apparent to more and more people. And so I do think that there's going to be a wave of folks looking to exploit, and I mean that in a positive way, Africa's competitive advantages. And the challenge for homegrown entrepreneurs will be, how do you seize some of those opportunities or position yourself in some of those spaces in such a way that we avoid the dynamic of just being a pure kind of place for other people's strategies to play out, right? Africa as a green manufacturing hub is going to happen. The logic of it is very clear. The only question is, will we have it done to us, done for us, which is only slightly better, or done by us, right? So over the next 5 years, I expect that clarity to land more and more. What I'm hoping for is that we have a cohort of entrepreneurs in Africa who are investing in understanding, in just doing the learning on what is it that we have. Because, you know, on paper, one of the richest countries in the world is the Democratic Republic of Congo. The lack of an awareness among the people, even the people trying to self-enrich, the fact that you do the kinds of deals you're doing reflects a fundamental ignorance of the things you're giving away. And what I'm hoping for is that we are building a cohort of folks who will be deeply aware of the value we bring to the table, to my earlier point. And over the next 5 years, as we move from the margins of the global industrial conversation, not to the center, it won't happen in 5 years, that'll take 10 or 15 years, but we start the move that we're ready in every sector to say, and here is an African perspective or an African enterprise, maybe not in the center of an industry because it takes billions to play in that industry, but I've already thought about where I play in the supply chain. And I'm just waiting for the people to come, or I'm ready to help them arrive so that I take my spot and I grow from there. There was someone who started just supplying, you know, inputs into a big foreign factory in China and now runs an even bigger factory 20, 30 years later, because you could see where this game was going to go. And the question is, will we do that? Maybe the last thing I'll say, I like to leave these catchphrases just so people, to simplify this. If you think about how economies in the world have transformed themselves, China and some of its neighbors transformed its economy by taking hundreds of millions of rural, peasant, agricultural farmers and turning them into the world's kind of industrial workers, right? They became the world's factory. India did something slightly different, or is doing something slightly different. The thing that made them competitive was they took that same population and turned them into knowledge workers, right? It became the hub of the knowledge working economy. The thing I'll leave you with is, I think that 30 years from now, people will be saying Africa did a similar trick. We took our demographic dividend and turned it into the world's climate workers. That doesn't have one meaning. There are hundreds of sectors, hundreds of dynamics. Go out there, do your homework, pick a lane, and see what you can make happen.
Thank you so much, James, for sharing your wisdom. You couldn't have done a better setup, because you talked about a cohort of founders who are putting Africa at the center of this work and are doing it by Africa. And those are who we're going to turn it over to now. But thank you, James, for being with us. And we're so excited to hear the pitches.
Thank you so much, James. I think I want to just echo some of the things that he said when he was speaking about mental health, and say that one of the benefits of being in a cohort like this is that you have each other to lean on. When you are stressed and you don't have anyone to, and you're like, I need to raise, or I want to quit, these are your people. The people, you know, as they say in church, turn to your left, turn to your right. These are the people that you should be leaning on as well, because you're all doing very valuable work. So very grateful to have had James join us today. And I just want to quickly introduce our fellows. First of all, I have to say on behalf of myself and my co-founder, on behalf of myself and my colleague Maya, we have been so privileged and blessed to have been able to work with each of you. You have inspired us with your tenacity, your hard work, your commitment to solving the challenges on this continent. I can definitely say I'm really looking forward to see how you all grow, how you all excel. I hope you remember the visions I shared before. I really see that for each of you. And when I look at you all, you are my hope for this continent. And so it's always a privilege to walk alongside my African founders. And I'm not allowed to say it, but you guys are kind of my favorite. They know. But it's such a pleasure. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my sister from Nigeria, who is bringing light to our country because we so desperately need it. Please join me in welcoming Chidalu.
Blackouts. So I want you to think about the last time you experienced a blackout and how often you expect that to happen. Maybe once a month, maybe a couple times a week, but what if it happened every day, multiple times a day? Could you imagine running your business like that? My team operates in Nigeria, and to know Nigeria is to know blackouts. Our country generates 400 billion in GDP every year, but less than 50% of the country is connected to the grid. See, that grid generates less than 20% of the country's total energy demand. So offices, factories, hospitals, they're running with 16 to 18 hours of sporadic blackouts every given day. So they have to spend $20 billion USD every year on petrol and diesel for their backup generators. Now, as the cost of fossil fuels have more than tripled in the past 12 months, businesses have had to slow down or shut down without access to reliable power. This isn't just an energy crisis, it's a missed opportunity in economic development and environmental sustainability and in global leadership. So Earthbound is taking a different approach. Our digital one-stop shop removes the complexity for over 45 million small and medium businesses that want to transition to clean, affordable, and reliable energy. Our model is simple. We work with these businesses that come to us to develop their business and energy case. We identify a solar solution that could replace their generator and pre-qualify them for financing that cuts that upfront cost into easy, sizable monthly chunks. Finally, we use that data to establish a carbon baseline that we can then use for discounts to lower the cost of the overall system. Sounds simple, right? But let's take one of our customers, Mr. Badamosi. He runs a 600-people school outside of Lagos in a place called Ogun State. There, he spends over $500 every month on petrol for his backup generator. He's actually connected to the grid, but that grid has given him less than 30 minutes of power at any given time over the past 3 years. He found us hoping to switch to solar with one of our plans. And in the first 75 days, we were able to save him over 1,000 USD in order for him to power his business. And so he's referred us to others in his community, other businesses, other headmasters, et cetera. And so we've done it again and again and again and again. The big hill ahead of us is drastically reducing the cost of switching to reliable and affordable power for businesses in our market. And that means tapping into the carbon credit markets. Because of Nigeria's unique reliance on diesel and petrol generators, we can measure higher emissions, right? But with better data reliability and integrity to actually make the case. So today, to reach the next 1,000 customers, we're seeking carbon credit buyers that can greatly increase the affordability of this for our market. Now, I want you, whether you're an investor, you are a climate enthusiast, or you're really just positive and interested in Africa and Nigeria's future, to join us on this transformative journey. I want you to imagine Nigeria where the hum of economic progress is not the deafening roar of our diesel or petrol generators, but the silent power of the sun. My name is Chidalo Anyenso. This is my team. And this is Earththon. We're just getting started. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Tadala Makuloni. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Nyasa Area Data Solutions, which is a tech company based in Malawi and specializes on how communities can prepare and respond to floods. Now, imagine waking up to the roar of thunder and pounding of rains. You look outside, you witness your neighbor's houses being swept away by floods. Sadly, that's a harsh reality for more than 4 million people that live in sub-Saharan Africa. Let me give you a clear example which is close to home, Malawi. Last year alone, we experienced Cyclone Freddy, which hit more than 2.2 million people just in Malawi alone. And that we spent more than $500 million in damages only. So if this trend continues like this, by 2040, we would spend more than $250 million just in damages. But as young people living and witnessing such effects in our communities, we recognize the very critical gap in flood information. Usually communities don't know when floods will hit, where do they land to, where do they evacuate, and even how much impact the floods will have. So as such, we as entrepreneurs, as Nyasa Area Data Solutions, what we do is simple. We provide real-time satellite and drone mapping services, as well as future predictions on floods. We then sell these data sets to different stakeholders that are interested, especially in how communities prepare and respond to floods. We also do consultation services on how they can use these data sets in predicting future events. So far, we've been able to build a flood alert application. This application identifies areas that are most prone to floods, evacuation routes as well. So this helps communities to know when floods will hit, how much they will hit, and specific areas where they can evacuate to. But our bigger goal is to be able to build a dashboard. This dashboard should be able to feed different information, flood alerts, should be able to have information on evacuation routes, as well as stakeholders should be able to interact with it, buy data with it, and advise communities on how they can prepare and respond to floods. We've been able to work within Malawi in more than 4 districts, over 2,700 communities within those localities, and we've been able to raise more than 20,000 in funding for the same. We've been also able to work with recognizable institutions like UNICEF Malawi, World Bank, World Relief, and other local organizations within our localities. So we're therefore seeking 200,000 in funding to be able to bring our dashboard into a reality. And then we're also looking for partners as well as referrals, if you know any that are working in the climate sector, that are working in the disaster sector, and we're also looking for mentors. Our team believes that technology can bring so much more, especially when it comes to preparing and responding to floods. So join us in bringing this to reality. Thank you.
Let me start by this. I come from a family that imports ethanol in Togo for 20 years. Until 2013, we lost our warehouse. During political crisis in Togo, like many Americans, we lost over $500,000 of ethanol in this house. I just finished my bachelor in management. I was thinking how to produce bioethanol locally and empower smallholder farmers and solve some agricultural problem in Togo. My name is Clifford Oglunu. I'm CEO of Alcofor Corporation, a startup specialized in ethanol production based on cassava. We empower smallholder farmers and improve their livelihood and preserve the environment. In my country, Togo, over 70% of the population rely on traditional biomass like charcoal and wood for their basic energy needs. This contributes to deforestation of over 5 million hectares according to the Togolese Environment Ministry. The result is significant pollution, environmental degradation, and poverty among smallholder farmers, most of whom are women who are facing hyper-service losses and unstable income. On a regional scale, ECOWAS country import over 2 billion liters of ethanol per year, with only 8% of local production. This dependency drains our economy, disrupts supply chains, and underutilize our local resources. So at Akufa Corporation, our solution is simple. We provide technical support to smallholder farmers in cassava value chain. Then we use cassava to produce geoethanol with farm loss. And in the same process, we produce biofuel, ethyl ethanol for medical purposes, and animal feed and cassava flour. So how it is work? First, we empower smallholder farmers. We provide them technical to improve the yield from 8 tons to 25 tons of cassava per hectare. So after harvested, we use this cassava in our small facilities. Then we clean, we crush, we cook, and we change this mass with some enzyme into glucose. Then we ferment this glucose and put it in some distillation process to extract raw ethanol. After extracting raw ethanol, we dehydrate some parts for biofuel, which you can use in your automotive and even improve cook stove. A part of raw ethanol is denatured for medical purpose, which is used in hospital, clinics, and cosmetic sector. During the fermentation process, their biogas are producing, though we are using biogas in our process to sustain our production. So in the same process, there are cassava flour and animal feed from cassava. Okay, our target market is $110 billion. Our service available market is $2 billion, and our service sum is $100 million, $800 million. So what's the opportunity? Currently, our production capacity is just 150,000 liters per year, but we have a demand pipeline of ethanol of 6 million liters a year. In the sub-region, there are 3 main players, but our main advantage is our locally sourced and sustainable method production, which is cost-effective and allow us to provide high-quality and versatile ethanol. So we also help farmers to boost income and preserve forests. We are 14 in our team, 8 full-time, 6 part-time. We bring together over 49 years of experience in energy and engineering. Over the 4 past years, we work and engage over 600 smallholder farmers, reach 5,000 end users, transform 5,200 tons of cassava, and producing currently 150,000 liters per year. So currently, by October 2024, we reached turnover of 150,000 with almost 300 smallholder farmers. We forecast by 2030 to reach $3 million and 2,000 smallholder farmers in our process. But with only $1 million in safe to reach this goal. So we will use this fund to buy some equipment, enhance our supply chains and logistics, and boost marketing and sales effort. So ladies and gentlemen, come and join us in this journey to help us to scale and meet our growing demand and drive a powerful challenge in Togo and across Africa. So thank you.
Seeing this picture at the first glance, you may feel sorry for her carrying a lot of vegetables on her head. But her real struggle is linked just the weight she carries. The pain on her face tells us the deep story. Every day, a woman like her loses a portion of her earnings, not just because she doesn't have a before. This is because a portion of her vegetables goes to waste before even reach the customer. Now, this isn't just her body. In Tanzania, 40% of the vegetables go to waste before even reach the customer. And this translates to 50,000 metric tons of the vegetables goes to waste. And this also contributes to carbon dioxide emission, which is the problem we're going to ignore anymore. Now, Freshpack Technologies has come with a solution. A box made up with fabric integrated with phase-changing material, by which by just adding water, you can increase the shelf life of a vegetable up to 10 days, and also reduce food spoilage by 30%. Now I will tell you how does it work. Now, Freshpack technology is inspired by the human body cooling system, by which by just adding water, first change material are absorbing heat from the vegetables and transfer it to water. Then water change to vapor, and then create a coolness inside the box, which is 60% below than ambient air, which is good for your vegetables. Now, the benefit of fresh pack box, rather than just increasing vendor incomes and also reduce food waste, it also contributes to sustainable development goals as zero hunger, responsible consumption and production, and also climate change. Now, in Tanzania is the home of 650,000 vendors, which translates to a total available market of 13.6 million, and also 195,000 vendors are looking for the solution, which is 4.1 million, and also 65,000 vendors are able to pay for our solution, which translates to 1.4 million. Now, why do you choose Freshpack? Freshpack box first is affordable. By 21 USD, you can get your box, compared to refrigerators, which cost 200 to 300 US dollars, and also use electricity, by which Freshpack box does not use electricity or even ice. And also the traditional method we use, soaking vegetable to water, doesn't work anymore, as it can just take a short time, and also it is unhygienic. Now, our business model is very simple. We are just sell our box direct, and in 2025 we are gonna introduce our rent model for solar powered display box. Now, from we starting launching our product in the market in 2023, we have been able to sold 500 boxes, which generating us the minimum of 10,000 USD, and also sorry guys, now it's good. Okay, so since we started selling our box, we have been sold 500 boxes in 2023, generating more than 10,000 USD. And also, up to now, we have sold 721 boxes, which generate more than 15 USD revenue. And also in 2025, we are looking to sell 2,000 boxes. And also by introducing our solar-powered display box, we will be able to increase the revenue by 50,000 USD. And also in 2026, we are looking forward to expand across all the region in Tanzania. And also in 2028, we will expand to Uganda and Kenya, looking for 1.2 million vendors. Now, our team is the best team, have the talent all required to make Freshpack grow. Both four co-founders of us, we were in Israel working with the horticulture sector, and we decided to come back home to help these vendors. Now, we are seeking 100,000 USD in SAFE, by which 6% of which we are going to buy the vulcanizing vacuum machine, by which is capable of making 1,000 boxes per month, and 40% of it will go to finish our office in Imlali, Morogoro, by which it acts as a distribution center. Now, the women like this, we saw it every day. They are just fighting against the odds to make living. Freshpack is here just to rewrite their stories. Now, join us. You can invest us, you can partner with us, and also just spread the word. Together we can ensure no vendor will left behind. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Genesis. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of Coliba Africa. The problem we are solving is very visible and obvious to all of us here, and that is plastic waste pollution. And at the same time, this could be a huge economic opportunity for our communities. In Abidjan, where I'm from, in Côte d'Ivoire, we produce more than 500,000 tons of plastic waste each year, and that number increases by 8% every year, and we only have 3% that is being recycled. In Africa, the percentage is the same in the whole of the continent. And on the other hand, this market is estimated at 2 billion USD. So since 2017, we've given ourselves a very clear mission. That is to structure and industrialize plastic waste recycling in Africa by working with women and also using mobile technologies. And how are we doing that? In Abidjan, we've already set up more than 30 waste collection centers in all over the city. And this number keeps increasing, and we aim to reach 65 by the end of next year. And these containers also create great job opportunities for women. Each container that we set up employs up to 3 people, and 90% of these people, they are women. Our containers also create excellent job opportunities and also and opportunities for informal waste collectors. We at Colibar, we don't just work with informal waste collectors, we actually empower them. For the past 3 years, we spent more than 1 million USD in just training and increasing the capacity of our waste collectors. Aside from our collection centers, we also have buses. And we partner with most brands in Abidjan, the biggest brands that we have in Côte d'Ivoire, Total Energy, Shell, name it. And our objective is to be able to move to 500 buses between now and the end of the year, of next year. Sorry. We don't just only collect plastic waste, we also recycle them. Today we have a recycling capacity of 3,500 tons, but we feel that is really small and that we can do better than that. In a country where we produce 500,000 waste every year, 3,500 might sound very good, but it's actually peanuts. And this takes us to our development plan, which is divided in 2 phases. The first phase is for us to improve our actual recycling plant to be able to produce food-grade flakes. And for that, we will need 2.5 million USD. This investment will enable us to achieve 2 main goals. The first one is to increase our collection capacity from 3,500 to 10,000 tons every year. The second one will also enable us to be able to drastically increase our selling price and have access to the major brands that we want to partner with. And this, of course, will also help us to increase our revenues, because that is what we need to be sustainable. But like I said, our ambitions are more bigger than that. We want to be the leading industry, the leading company in West Africa in terms of plastic waste recycling. That is why in our second phase, we'll be raising 10 million USD, not just to increase the quality of what we are already doing, but also to diversify the types of plastic that we collect and also build the global, the continental market that we want to build. Plastic waste recycling is expensive, and that is why we need partners. And for now, we've had many partners who have trusted us to be able to do what we've done up till now. But regardless of this, we wouldn't have been able to get where we are today without the team that we have. Just let me explain to you a little bit the history of our team. 50% of the women you see here can neither read nor write. And remember, we are the leading collection and recycling industry, not only in Côte d'Ivoire, I think in West Africa. Because we believe in women, we believe in local talent, we believe if we train and we are willing to put the effort and the work into it, we can get amazing surprises from these women. So join us today because we want to make Africa clean. We want to develop an industry, a recycling industry for Africa. We don't want others to be doing it for us. We believe we can do it. And thank you very much. Come and join us because together we want to make Africa clean. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the introduction. The name is Golden Nunama, a co-founder at eAgro with our flagship product, CropFix. But before we get into that, are you aware that John here and more than 500 million smallholder farmers in Africa lose up to 40% of their crops pre-harvest? This is due to lack of access to up-to-date information and outdated methods of farming which fail to consider climatic shifts. Now, CropFix is an AI automated chatbot assisting farmers manage their farms by providing actionable climate-smart agricultural insights tailored to their specific needs. We leverage technologies such as instant soil testing and monitoring throughout the season, satellite image integration, and artificial intelligence. This has enabled us to help John by providing a predictive analysis which he can use to plan accordingly. Of the $3.5 billion market estimated by FAO, we are initially targeting the $100 million market in the Southern African region. Now, for us to make sure that John uses CropFix, CropFix is easy to access and it's inclusively being built on platforms farmers can actually access without much training, and that's making us easier, faster, and cheaper. We have reached more than 20,000 farmers like John on the platform. John has realized a 2x increase in harvest and income per season. More so, we've been able to reduce the use of chemicals on the plants by more than 28%. How good is this, ladies and gentlemen? Now, for us to reach John at a larger scale, we then partner with offtake companies, financial institutions, developmental agencies, as we provide technical support to their farmers in order for them to meet the targeted yields. So, now we have a guess of how we make money. We utilize a B to B to C model by these distributors being our main clients with a $45,500 average deal. Now, currently we are onboarding FAO farmers, and in 2025 we plan to increase our satellite crop so that we can cater for large-scale farmers, monitor their farms. Our team is an expert domain in AI, computer science, agronomy, and business management. And this good team has taken the time to get educated and experienced in their different roles. These guys now, they keep us in check. They keep us aligned to their vision, to our vision, as they are our advisors. And through their networks, they've opened doors to partners. Currently, we have opened our pre-seed funding round of 500,000, and we have raised more than 100,000 so far. This money is helping us in increasing the number of farmers on the platform and improving our technology. We are also seeking partners in form of offtake companies, developmental agencies, and we are open to carrying out pilot programs. More so, we are seeking more advisors to keep us in check and work with our young team. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's grow together. Invest in us and be part of the future of food. I've also given you the privilege to use our platform. Currently, maize is active. So, scan the QR code, test our product. If you are a farmer, also test your crops. With this, I thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace and I'm a co-founder at Run Automations Limited. With over 8 years of working in the renewable energy sector and solving the challenge of access to electricity, most of you can already resonate with these numbers. Over 6 million people still lack access to electricity. And this is worse because in rural areas, it is limited to 18%. So this comes with a lot of challenges on terms of the end users as well as the businesses that are trying to solve this challenge. So on the end user side, there are 2 challenges. One is affordability of these valuable assets, even productive use of energy appliances that they would use to enhance their livelihoods. On the other side of the businesses, it is high operational costs to reach out to this end user, as well as data to find out, to monitor the health and usage of the asset to provide maintenance and maintenance costs. So Run automation, we bridge all these challenges and we leverage on IoT and data to support companies, research organizations to provide these solutions through remote monitoring as well as PEGO solutions to the end user. So our services are very simple. We do real-time energy monitoring, PEGO services, user system behavior, customer support, as well as flexible payment plans. And we have we design hardware components as well as a web-based platform. To date, we have over 100 users that are using our platform. The hardware is connected to the appliance to collect data, and the data is sent to the remote monitoring platform where the companies are able to manage their clients and also do data analytics. Our business model is software as a service, and this comes in a package. So it entails remote monitoring, remote switching, GPS tracking, monitoring on the usage and health of the asset, as well as enabling PEGO. So our clients, actually, which are the energy businesses, research institutions, are able to make data-based decisions to support their clients better. And these are some of our competitors, but Run Automation will provide multiple services in one solution at an affordable and customized services. Our ask, we are seeking for 600,000 in grants to expand into markets. We want to expand over to 3,000 users by end of next year, 2025, build a database and also improve our software algorithm, as well as bring in technical support to support in the growth of our business. We also need additional technical support in organization capacity development, ecosystem partnership, as well as product development. This is my amazing team. We have a background in embedded systems, software engineer, as well as renewable energy. Contact us. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Technology makes our lives better, and our demand for new tech never tires. But I have a quick question for you. Do you know what happened to your old tech devices after being discarded? When mishandled, they end up in landfills, polluting water, land, exposing hazardous chemicals to our people, and contributing to climate change. This makes electronic waste a global challenge that cannot be ignored. Globally, we are generating more than 50 million metric tons, with only 0.9% properly recycled in Africa. It doesn't stop there, because over 1 billion people remain unserved by formal housing market. And the construction machines that could be used to address these challenges are not only expensive, but also contributing to climate change. This puts our lives at risk, and our developing countries are being the hardest hit. Can we wait any longer to address these challenges? Inspired by these two challenges, Innova Hyper Technologies came up with a solution to address formal housing through e-waste management by repurposing e-waste and metal scraps as integral parts we use to manufacture affordable, eco-friendly construction machines. We achieved this by sourcing e-waste and metal scraps from households and businesses, and then employ green technology at our facility to repurpose them into eco-friendly construction machines that we deploy on construction sites for both sales and leasing option. Our products are 100% built from e-waste and metal scraps, and they are efficiently powered by clean energy. Today, we have 4 models, including concrete mixers, lifting machines, sand sieving machine, and cement mixers. Our market is huge, with $4.2 billion US dollars, including 5.5 million housing units to be delivered by 2050 in my beautiful country, Rwanda. Our solution is affordable, but also profitable, with more than 57 cost saving to our clients and 41% profit margin to Innova Hyper and investors who are willing to join us on this journey. Of course, we have competitors on the market, but we outshine them with affordable solution, with eco-friendly features and user-friendly features for unskilled laborers and people with disabilities. We are currently operational in Rwanda, and we have generated more than 60,000 US dollars in 8 months, mitigating 6,000 tons of carbon, which is approximately 300,000 trees that could be planted on a hill to offset this amount of carbon in the atmosphere. Through this journey, we have 81% of women, youth, and personnel with disability, and a waiting list of more than 50 companies who are waiting to be served. We have projection to generate 200 more green jobs, and this is the team behind, with environmental, technical, and management expertise, but also a shared passion to sustain this solution. Public and private sector have joined us to change lives as well. And if you're willing to be part of this solution, we seek 500,000 US dollars in strategic partnership, which will empower us for raw material acquisition, mass production and scaling operations, new marketing and community outreach, as well as new market exploration. We started this journey with a modest amount of capital, but from the feedbacks we collected from our clients, they have demonstrated confidence they have in our solution and our potential for growth. We aim to scale up within the country by 2035, where we project 50 million US dollars as annual revenues. The best time to invest in us was yesterday. The next best time is now. Murakoze.
My name is Kadus. I'm from Ethiopia, not like my brother from Rwanda, which people mistake me for. But I actually went to college in the US, and like many of you, my parents invested everything they have in my education. So I remember when my father dropped me off at school, I said, "What can I do for you?" He said, "Come back and build your country one day." I completely forgot about that. Now, after that, I spent a lot of time, especially at the UN, traveled to over 40 countries, but I remember one distinct time when I was coming back from a trip, opening my phone and seeing something on the news. This picture accompanied a headline about a landfill very close to where I grew up, where there was a trash avalanche and over 100 people were killed. This was a time that I had to come back and think about what my father said. After an agonizing moment of thinking of how can I actually do something about a tragedy like this and change the situation of millions of Ethiopians and many others around the continent, I decided to really put in research around why this is happening. 7 out of the 10 people you'll ever meet in your life are going to be living in a city. And they're not going to be talking about the glitz and glamour of skyscrapers. They're going to be talking about the challenges of affordable housing and affordable living, about climate change, and of course, about pollution and plastic waste. So after some time of thinking of what I could do, this is what I landed with: a boring building. But this is something that really drives my team. This is something that really drives people at Cubic, because this is made out of 100% plastic waste. Not only is it made out of plastic waste, it has 5 times less greenhouse gas emissions than the other thing we know called cement. And it's already being built. Cubic is on a mission of building dignity through clean and affordable living for all. And as a business, we are making walls that are 40% cheaper, 2 to 3 times faster to build with, and it requires 0 skill, so any of us can use a hammer and build it, creating jobs on the continent. But why buildings? Because again, we did our research. We knew that affordable housing is a $2 trillion business, and nobody's doing anything about it. Just back home, it's $40 billion. So the more we started to talk to real estate developers, what we realized is people don't want to make affordable houses because it's not cheap, and it's very slow to build with, and it doesn't make money. So through Cubic, we were able to create a business plan where we can empower the thousands of waste pickers that you see in landfills like I showed you earlier on, empower them with decent income, make this beautiful product, and sell it to developers and ease the pain so that they can be incentivized to make life more affordable. And let the numbers speak for itself. Today at Cubic, in Ethiopia, we're recycling 5,000 kilos every single day of plastic waste. For every square meter of wall that we are building, we're avoiding 9 kilos of that dirty stuff that goes into the air. And we're creating amazing jobs for hardworking women on those landfills. And the market is speaking for itself. We're already at capacity for next year. We have outsized demand where over $500,000 of contracts have already been signed. Our average contract sizes are over $100,000, and people want more, and we can't give it to them. So how can you be a part of this? If we scaled our production by 9 times, we can realize a $10 million a year opportunity. We can be taking on much larger projects that require us to deliver much faster, and we can be profitable. That's why we've gone back to a fundraise after successfully closing earlier this year, where we're going to be bringing you along for another $3 million round so that we can be realizing tens of millions of dollars next year. I am not doing this alone. Just like me, there are well-accomplished people right behind me with parents who've told them to come back and build that home. But now it's for us to build together. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. That was very enthusiastic. I loved it. Thank you. And it's amazing that it's enthusiastic because as we work with several different founders, sometimes we see, as you see in these pitches, in the beginning we see the that can bring you down, but it's very inspiring to go on that journey with them and see the solutions that come from these problems. Working with climate change is so important, and we know that Africa is disproportionately affected by the compounding effects of climate change. But it's also very inspiring to know that there's so much potential here. At the same time that the effects are tremendous, the potential is also great and amazing and very inspiring. So for me, it's really great to work with these founders as we continue to do so, and we have been doing for the past 10 years. So thank you very much to the founders. I always tell them that they choose us as much as we choose them to be in our programs. So thank you very much. On the thank you notes, I also want to thank our amazing team, CEO Dan Barker, Mercy, Maya, Grace, and of course, the rest of the team that is back home in Washington, D.C., working very hard for programs like this and so many others to be realized. As Kiddo said, I don't want to keep you from the food, from the drinks, from the networking, which is the most important thing. So thank you very much. And thank you to our partners and sponsors. Thank you very much to the Sandbox team. It's been amazing to work with you. Thank you very much to Kenyatta University, Amazon Web Services, and the Department of State of the US. With that being said, go grab some food, go talk to each other. Let's see what business will emerge from here. Thank you.